Good evening, my name is Joe Sulak. I'm with the Department of Economics, and I'd like to welcome you all to the 8th Annual International Forum. First, I would like to thank the Humanities Program, and I'd like to thank the International Studies Program for their support, and I'd like to thank you all for coming out this evening. We have our student presenters represent 4 countries from 2 continents, and each will be talking for roughly 12 to 15 minutes. And I wish that you'd hold your questions until all the presenters are finished, okay? The first student presenter is Genevieve Grandadam from France. She's sort of our leadoff hitter here, okay? There you go. This is baseball analogy. It's April. You know, it's in America, so it's baseball. Batting number 2, so to speak, here is Rabia Dadoua from Lebanon. In the 3rd position here is Truly Luckman from Indonesia. And batting cleanup, our cleanup hitter here, is Željko Matejc from Croatia. Now, while each of their countries is unique, the students will be addressing some common issues. These include the influence of religion in their country, the role of women, a few aspects about the U.S. that they find appealing, and a few aspects of their country that they miss. I think that you will find them informative, entertaining, and they might even enchant you. So without further ado, let's get this game started, okay? Go to it, lady.
Good evening. Welcome to this 8th Annual International Forum. Tonight, we have the great opportunity to learn from 4 different countries: Lebanon, Indonesia, Croatia, and finally France. Even though it seems places so far away, unreachable, they are part of each of us. There are many differences between us 4, but many similarities and common grounds that have brought us together. My name is Genevieve Grandadam, or as we would say in French, Geneviève Grandadon. For those who can't remember either, just call me Jenny. I'm half French and half American. I lived in Strasbourg, which is actually right up here, in the northeast of France, next to Germany, until fall 2003 when I came here as a freshman. I am the last of 4 children and the second one to study in America after my sister Claire. France, known as the most romantic country in the world. L'amour, la Tour Eiffel, les Champs-Élysées, and so much more. I didn't come here to tell you how big France is, nor in fact did I come to give you an account of the country's history. For if you had been interested in finding out about that, you would have already done so. Contrary to what the stereotypes hold, I came here to tell you that France, more recently known as Amelie's country, is not full of dirty old French people wearing berets, smoking cigarettes, and drinking wine while eating their delicious baguettes and their stinky cheese. Oui, oui, as we would say. Indeed, most Americans don't realize how similar France is to the United States. The 2 countries are, after all, part of the Western world. Contrary to popular belief, women in France do shave and do put deodorant on. Like American women, French women, or even gay guys, tend to be trendsetters of style. French women have a lot more style than American women, as very few of them wear flip-flops or even shorts in summer. It is common for girls to wear high heels and suits, more classy outfits in other words. You must think I'm not such a good example of a French woman, as I stand in front of you with baggy pants and tennis shoes. But what can I say? There are exceptions in every country. You can never really generalize. Also, women are recognized as equals in French society. There is even a parity law obliging as many women and men in political offices, for example. For the last presidential elections, out of the 21 candidates, 3 of them were women. Not quite half yet, but it's getting there. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that each country has its own characteristics, and let it be known that even within a country, each region is different. The same applies in America. And this reminds me of religion. Last summer, as I came to live here for the first time, I was struck by the incredible number of churches there are, let alone by the sheer number of people that care to go to Mass. And indeed, I was told I am in the Bible Belt, which explained the fact that religion is so very present in people's lives. Religion in French society is probably one of the most secular countries in the world. Even though religion appears important, as most tourist sites are cathedrals and churches on Sunday are empty and are always taken over by the same elders. In the region where my father lives, there is only one church for over 3,000 people, and yet they are still unable to fill it up. Only on rare occasions can we see younger people attending church, and most often it is only because they are forced to go or because it is a traditional holiday like Christmas. In fact, in all public schools, we are not allowed to show any symbol of religion, thus explaining a recent law that some of you might have heard of that has been passed that has banned Muslims to wear headscarves in school. Due to the lack of interest in becoming a priest, now anybody with just a few days training can perform the services for funerals and weddings. Religion is still part of our culture, as most of our holidays are based on the Catholic celebrations. Yet more and more, holidays become a time to spend with family and friends without any connection whatsoever to religion or religious practices. Now let me talk a bit about the economic and political situation. Over the past 5 years, France has entered an important economic and political crisis. Indeed, the social and economic situation in France has gone through many changes. Unemployment has risen from 3 million to 5 million over the last 4 years. Some French tend to blame this on the Arabs, as you can see, on immigrants, and believe that immigrants, especially Arabs, have stolen their jobs. In the last presidential elections, which took place in May 2002, France was shocked when the FN racist candidate Jean-Marie Le Pen got serious public support for the French presidency. According to him, if 3 million foreigners have jobs, then 3 million French people don't. Fortunately, he wasn't elected, and partly because of the massive riots that occurred against him. So that's Le Pen right there with French and French first, and then Jacques Chirac on the other side, which is France and big and France together. Indeed, French do not accept change as easily as in other countries. Reforms are always accompanied by complaints and strikes, and as soon as something goes wrong, the masses gather in the streets. The French don't have politics of dialogue. Indeed, as President Chirac stated in his interview, we have the politics of confrontation. Confrontation and strikes have in a sense become a sort of tradition, and several times a year, teachers, bus drivers, people working in the public administration all protest and go on strike. En grève, which is in strike. Many of these are great reasons to not go to school. Indeed, we have probably as many days off because of strikes as Asheville High School kids because of snow. France and America have many differences, and each has their own characteristics that make them unique and sets them apart. I cannot say that I would therefore want to live in America all my life. Indeed, I love food, and boy, French food is unreplaceable. C'est si bon. Nothing can replace a good éclair au chocolat made in France, or even a good piece of morbier over a hot baguette that just came out of the baker's oven. Burgers are good, I admit, but boy, do I like the cheese, the bread, and the chocolate. Yes, it is true, we do not have Oreos and donuts, but I will always be able to bring them back or ship them over. But the French art of food is something unique and with frontiers. As I came back here for spring semester, I admit, I had 2 suitcases. One that was full of clothes, but the other was simply full of food. And to my great sorrow, all my food is all gone already. In France, food is something sacred that you don't mess around with. Some families don't even answer the phone when they are eating. Big meals last up to 5 or 6 hours, if not more. Therefore, if you're invited to a friend's house to eat, you do not have any plans after that. So yes, indeed, the French like to drink wine and eat cheese, and trust me on that one, there's no better meal. According to my father, Thanksgiving is the only day Americans eat perhaps a little better than the French, and only because it is on a weekday. Living in America has not always been easy. Indeed, France and Europe are known for its great way of locomotion. From my little city of Ostwald, I can go everywhere, anyhow, any day I want. For very long trips, planes are the most common, but usually for any trips in France or in Europe, the train can lead me anywhere. For trips within my city and its surroundings, bus and subways works out great. For smaller trips, bicycle would be the best. I would take my bike anywhere, as bicycle paths are all around. I'm not saying having a car is not useful. I sure wish I had one sometimes, especially in the winter. But it is definitely not necessary. We can have a driver's license at 18, but even so, I have not had my driver's license yet. This has been a big challenge for me here. As a caterer, I have to drive a golf cart around campus, and I am sure the first day I had to drive, my boss thought she was going to die. Since then, I have a terrible reputation driving a car, and I am considered as a real danger. I even got stuck on top of the library steps once because I didn't know how to reverse. Fortunately, though, I have met many people that are always willing to help me out and bring me places. Indeed, I have enjoyed Americans' friendliness and openness. People always welcome you with open arms, even if they don't know you. Complete strangers have helped me at airports, restaurants, and supermarkets. I've been called honey and sweetie and sugar by people I have never seen before. Before I came here, I was apprehensive of the Americans' reaction to French, and I know so did my colleague Rabia, as I came only 6 months after 9/11 and few months after the beginning of Iraq War. As a matter of fact, I haven't had one comment about me being French, and I haven't met anybody calling my fries freedom fries. Which, by the way, don't even come from France, but that's another story. Many French, I have to admit, have an apprehension of Americans and may seem a little colder. This doesn't mean that the French aren't nice and that they are arrogant, as some people seem to believe. The French are nice, and they can be helpful, but they're a lot more reserved than the Americans. We like to keep our pride. Of course, I wouldn't mess around with a Parisian cab driver during traffic time. They can be pretty nasty. One of the most important things I like about America is that indeed it gives each one of us the opportunity to become what I want and to be free. Most importantly, I have over 2 years to choose what I want to do, to narrow down my choice of major, and be able to touch on all kinds of subjects. And sure enough, each semester I am thrilled by the idea I'm able to do African dance, economics, literature, drama, political science, math. Well, perhaps not that excited for that one, but it happens to be a requirement. Indeed, my advisor Robert is going crazy, for it is impossible to advise me, as I want to take it all. Not knowing what I want to do yet, studying in America has been perfect. In France, you have to choose your major right away, and if you don't pick the right one at the start, you get to start all over again. For example, suppose you are a junior in college, and you are majoring in economics, and then decide you want to switch to psychology. Well, in France, you would have to start as a freshman all over again. I hope I leave you with a better understanding of France and French people. Now, before you listen to Rabia, my Lebanese friend, I would like to leave you with the following phrase in French. On apprend par chacun. Which in English means there are things to learn from everyone. Please welcome Rabia to be able to learn a little bit more about his country. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. So I can see the page because I have bad eyes right now. Getting old. Ahlan wa sahlan. Bonjour et bienvenue. Hello and welcome to my presentation of Lebanon. My name is Rabia Dahdouh, and I greet you with 3 different languages, all of which are used in Lebanon. Did you recognize any of them? Hopefully you got one at least. Almost any Lebanese you encounter will be able to speak Arabic, French, and English. If not each fluently, then with a combination of all three. My parents named me Rabia because I was born in this month during springtime. So, as you probably guessed, my name literally means springtime in Arabic. Unlike my half-French friend Jenny, I am 100% full Lebanese, yet I am probably more Americanized than Jenny since I've been in the US for 5 years now. My talk today will give you a glimpse into my country's journey through its triumphs and troubles, and leave you with a feeling of compassion and understanding of the significance of current events in the Middle East. Everything I will tell you, I draw from my primary sources such as myself, my family, and my friends, supplemented by reliable secondary sources like the internet. I will start by describing Lebanon's sights and sounds, then move on to issues of independence and religion, and speak about the status of women in Lebanon. Although only 70% the size of the state of Connecticut, Lebanon possesses all the geological marvels of the world, including 100 miles of pristine coastline, amazing water-carved caves, and of course, many, many mountains. Imagine a place where you can ski the slopes in the morning, then throw on your bathing suit and head to the warm, sunny beaches in the afternoon. Lebanon's diverse countryside makes this possible. Lebanon is a young, vibrant country. Its demographics show that a fourth of the country's population are under the age of 14, and 2/3 are between the ages of 15 and 64 years, leaving only 7% of our country that are classified as senior citizens. Comparatively, the United States has 12.4% of its population over the age of 65. Because we have such a large youthful population, the country's energy reflects that. Any college student there would feel like they've hit Cancun on spring break, without all the mass media coverage and hype provided by MTV. But Lebanon is not all about fun in the sun. Before it became a tourist hotspot, it came a long way to gain its independence. November 22nd, 1943, was the happiest day for all Lebanese, because on that day, we got our independence from Jenny's country, France. Not that I don't like Jenny or France, but without independence, a country is nothing. Lebanese people really value independence because it was something brand new to us, an experience we hadn't felt before. The next 30 years after that day were the best days of Lebanon's life. People lived lavishly with European-style cafes, elegant five-star hotels, and BMWs and Mercedes zipped through the streets of the Corniche, Beirut's birdwalk you see before you. I would liken it to the feeling of the roaring 20s in American history. We had electricity 24 hours a day, clean running water in our homes, and our inflation rate wasn't 500% like it was in 1987. Our golden years ended on April 13th, 1975. A civil war erupted between Christians and Muslims that shattered our independence and stability. When granting our independence, the French gave almost all of the political control of Lebanon to Christians who make up only 30% of our country, leaving the other 70% of Muslims without an equal voice in the government. Thus, the war was about sharing political power in the government. The streets filled with shootouts, the buildings turned to rubble, and the mosques and churches crumbled from east to west of Beirut, our beloved capital. The violence was getting so intense that not even the United States Marine Corps could calm things down. On October 23, 1983, America had its first experience with the suicide bomb, when a truckload of explosives blasted a Marine barracks to shreds, killing 220 Marines and 21 other service members. The United Nations approved an intervention of troops from neighboring Syria in a desperate attempt to thwart the skirmishes. Finally, in 1990, a ceasefire stopped the violence. Then, a religious settlement came up with a compromise for more equal representation in the government of both religious groups. Thus, the chief of state had to be a Maronite Catholic, the head of government had to be a Sunni Muslim, and the other key positions were divided along religious lines. Though we had established a new form of government and a more peaceful environment, We still did not have our independence because thousands of Syrian troops remained in our country's borders ever since the Civil War. Syria borders nearly the entire perimeter of our country. Syria's aspiration is known to make Lebanon a part of Greater Syria. Syria has army troops and secret police working together to manipulate the newly founded government of Lebanon in Syria's favor. The Syrians do not favor Lebanese leaders who oppose their involvement and are against the support of the Hezbollah terrorist group in the southern tip of Lebanon bordering Israel. Thus, when one such leader by the name of Rafiq Hariri openly opposed Syria's exploitation of Lebanon, a car bomb ended his life before he could even announce the running for elections this coming May. Now, the United Nations and President George W. Bush want the same thing that Lebanon's wanted ever since the end of our civil war: for the Syrian troops and secret police to leave Lebanon once and for all. The independence of our country will always be threatened as long as foreign troops occupy our land and influence our government. The independence of my country is important to me, important to my family, and important to the Middle East because without it, we have no identity. We are nothing but an insignificant spot on the map. Now on to a much more uplifting topic. Lebanese women. The women of Lebanon are an interesting contrast to the rest of the Middle Eastern women, and even to the rest of Lebanon outside of Beirut. From the bikini-clad girls sunbathing on the beaches of Jounieh, to mothers in head covers taking a stroll on the streets of Tripoli, the women of Lebanon are as diverse and contradictory as the environment in which they live. Unlike many other Middle Eastern countries, in some areas of Lebanon, our dress code is much more liberal. Women are allowed to wear casual or revealing clothing without worrying about the religious police shouting at them to go change clothes, which happens in countries like Saudi Arabia. I lived in Saudi Arabia for 15 years since 1985, when my mother and father fled Lebanon to start a better life in a safer place. Growing up in Saudi Arabia, I thought women were supposed to walk in public fully clad in black cloth to conceal their hairy faces. Then I discovered it was Saudi custom for women to cover up in public places, and my bearded woman nightmares stopped haunting my dreams. Lebanese women, along with their keen fashion sense, have more freedom than other Middle Eastern women. They obtained the right to vote in 1953 and have since fought steadily for women's rights. Despite the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women in 1996, women's rights remain at a standstill. They can go to college, get a degree, and get almost any job on the market, with the right connections, of course, but they cannot yet hold any public office. In contrast, Saudi women cannot even drive, speak before spoken to in their own household, and they definitely cannot vote. Unfortunately, a Lebanese woman's status is often determined by her religious affiliation. Therefore, a Christian woman living in Beirut will have more rights than her Muslim counterpart living in Tripoli. For example, if a Muslim male murders a female relative because he caught her having premarital sex, his worst punishment is a few months in jail, while the same crime committed by a Christian male in Beirut yields much harsher punishment. Again, a contrast of cultures exists along religious lines in Lebanon. Although our gender equality is not perfect, it is progressive, and we are much better off than most Middle Eastern countries regarding women's rights. Still, in my opinion, a truly democratic society, as I wish Lebanon to be, should not entirely base their laws and policies on religion. One of Lebanon's greatest challenges is to develop a separation of church and state that exists in Western countries like France. I love Lebanon, but the United States possesses something that we cannot even come close to: the power of the American economy and the economic mobility. In Lebanon, if you're born into a certain social class family, then it's difficult to move up and be better off than your parents. In the United States, there are more opportunities for a child from a low-income family to get an education and have the chance to be whatever he or she desires. Another cultural difference I appreciate is that in American university, I can major in any discipline and look forward to a fulfilling career in that discipline, whether it be political science, drama, or chemistry. In Lebanon, however, if I, being a male, go for a career in acting, let's say, my parents and peers would ridicule me for that choice. I'm expected to pursue a career in engineering, medicine, or law. Anything else is unorthodox. I agree with Jenny. The choices I have in the United States educational system astound me. Hence why I'm still undeclared sophomore like Jenny is. There's so much to choose from, so many different paths to take. In Lebanon, our paths are a one-way street with not even a fork in the road. Ironically though, I'm a pre-med student here at UNCA, and I do plan on majoring in biology. In the category of cuisine, however, Lebanon exceeds in every dimension. Lebanese food is so good that I won't even attempt to describe it in words as Jenny did, because I'll start getting hungry and miss my mom's cooking. I remember on our summer vacations, my family and I drove endless swerving mountain roads to get to a particular restaurant with a breathtaking view of the Bekaa Valley, and eat for hours on end. Those family lunches would take up the entire day, but it was always worth it. The importance of family cannot be overlooked when speaking of Lebanon. And when I say family, it doesn't just mean your brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles. It includes your dad's second, third, and yes, fourth cousins, your grandmother and her neighbor's children, and their grandmother. When we say family, we mean anyone or anything that has any relation to you whatsoever. Your bus driver on your school bus, on your way to school, is considered family in Lebanon. As you can infer, Lebanese people are friendly, and their reputations for hospitality precedes them. You are not a stranger in Lebanon, you are our esteemed guest, and you will be treated as a king or queen when you stay in any Lebanese household. An active young adult nightlife is another appreciation I have for Lebanon that the United States cannot seem to parallel. Whether you're 16, 18, or 21, you will find fun with your friends in Lebanon. Drinking age, you ask? There really isn't one. As Jenny and I discussed, in both our countries, the rule of thumb is if you can see over the bar, you're old enough to drink. In Beirut, we have nightclubs and super nightclubs, where young people come from all different backgrounds and dance to the Arabic rhythms and the beats of today's hottest music. Yes, that includes Snoop Dogg and 50 Cent. And don't forget the crazy summer beach parties. As you might guess, from the pictures we see before you, we Lebanese like to have a good time and joke around. I'm very pleased to have been giving you the opportunity to share my views and experiences with you all. I hope that I have given you a better understanding of Lebanon's dynamic and complicated culture. I'd like to leave you with a Lebanese expression that means we are all different and we can learn from each other's differences. Or, as we would say in Arabic, نحن نتعلم من بعض عباد. Next, I invite you to listen and learn from Tara's presentation on Indonesia.
Thank you, Rabia. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Or, as an Indonesian would say, Selamat malam dan selamat datang. My name is Truly Lakman. I'm a senior at UNCA. My major is creative writing, but I'm also minoring in sociology. As of now, I'm planning to graduate next year in May. Now, from the way I look and from my accent, you probably have guessed that I'm not an American. Well, also because Professor Sulok gave you a hint already. And yeah, I'm not an American. I have been in the United States for about 5 years, almost 6, but I'm originally from Indonesia. Like Rubia, I also speak multiple languages, but I only speak Indonesian and English fluently. Many Indonesian people are bilingual, by the way. They speak Indonesian, and they also speak their local dialect. Okay. So you probably have heard about Indonesia, or at least about one of the provinces there. I'm talking about Aceh. Is this one? Right there. It's the area that was hit the hardest by the tsunami last December, and then again by the earthquake last month. this is the capital of Indonesia, Jakarta, and this is my hometown, Makassar. And if you look at the map that you were handed out on the right-hand side, there you can see Indonesia as compared to the rest of the world. Okay. So here's a little quiz for you, but you didn't see that coming. Okay. Indonesia, as most Asian countries, was once a colony. Now, can you guess who the colonists were? Who thinks it's A? Anybody? How about B? C? D? D? E? Well, most of you did get it right. It was the Dutch. And we gained our independence in 1945. Now, you probably have heard that Indonesia is the country with the most Muslim population in the world. And after hearing what Jenny had to say about France and Rubia about Lebanon, you probably wonder, how big is religion in Indonesia? Well, if I have to summarize it in one word, it's big. It's huge. It's humongous. It's everything. Let's put it like this. Within 15 blocks of my grandma's house, there are 5 temples from various different religions, one of them being the church that I used to go to. And that church was pretty big. But it holds 3 sermons on Sundays. It's not just Sundays, though. Practically every day, there is something going on there, be it a fellowship, a meeting, just whatever, really. Christmas, it's celebrated for 3 days. Still, if you don't come early enough, you won't even get a seat. It's not just church activities. Praying is part of the daily rituals in most schools and even in some offices. So yeah, as you can see, religion is very big to us. Now, I know that I mentioned that there are a lot of Muslims in Indonesia, but please don't think that because of that, women aren't allowed to do anything. Women in Indonesia are still secondary citizens, but we don't stay at home to take care of the family anymore. Well, some of us still do, but if we want to, we can go to work. We even had a president who was a woman. You already heard what Jenny said about France, and Indonesia isn't anywhere as liberal as our country. So yeah, this was a very big deal to us. Anyway, this Indonesian president, you probably have heard of her. Her name was Megawati Soekarno, the one on the left. She was probably the best Indonesian president we have had so far. But yeah, it was a female president. A few decades ago, the guys in Indonesia would have laughed themselves sick or just scream in rage. Well, they probably would have a decade ago. See, it used to be that the people in Indonesia thought that all women had to stay in the kitchen. Women didn't deserve education unless they were highborns. And then in the 19th century, a highborn woman by the name of Raden Ajeng Kartini, the one on the right, finally decided that this kind of thinking was just plain ridiculous. She almost single-handedly built a school dedicated for women where women could learn how to read and write. Now, her face is forever printed in one of our currency bills. Of course, Kartini isn't the only heroine that Indonesia has had, but she is definitely one of the most influential. She gave Indonesian women a chance to go to school after all, and from there, a chance to equality. See, my grandmother, she wouldn't have dreamed about going to school at all. She was a highborn, but all she could get was homeschooling. All her life, she stays at home and become a housewife. And my mom, she got a little lucky. Her female friends, they went as far as elementary school, but she is a high school dropout. Right now, she is a teacher. And then there's me, here in America, in college, about to get my bachelor degree and hopefully go to grad school. I can be anything I want. I can be a business person, I can be a teacher, a scientist, maybe even a president if I work hard enough. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Indonesia is a paradise for gender equality right now. If I have to rate it, I would say that it's closer to Lebanon than France right now. But we had it worse, and we will definitely have it better. By now, you can probably see that there's indeed a connection between stature and education in Indonesia. You're right. Education is very important to us. Kind of like the higher your GPA and the more prestigious your school is, the better the position you'll get when you get a job. Here's the catch though. You have to know the right people too. See, connection is even more important than education. Connection and money. Why? Because it's possible to buy a degree in Indonesia. I mean, really, if you're too lazy to study, as long as you have the money and connection, you can get to a good school. And from then on, you can just pay your teachers all the way to your graduation. One of my cousins actually did this. He went all the way from middle school to high school without studying at all. He paid his way to a good school, and he just paid his teachers every single year so he could get straight A's. 6 years, straight A's, no studying at all. He's actually kind of proud of it too. And now, because he has good connections, he is a co-owner of a successful auto shop. I'm not really sure how much he makes, but I know that is a lot. So just because I've said all this, please don't think that Indonesia is uncivilized and barbaric and all that. It's not, really. I would love to give you a better picture of my country, but unfortunately, the power that be wouldn't let me have more time. So I could only skip through the surface of life there. So now you're probably wondering, do I love my homeland? Yeah, I do. There are many things that I love about it. For example, the food. Just joking. I mean, yeah, sure, I miss the food that I grew up with. Who wouldn't? But if I have to pick, then I would have to say that I love the relationship there even more. You have all heard what Jenny thought about the people here. I have to say that I have had a slightly different experience. See, I think the people in Indonesia care a lot more than the people here. Here, it doesn't matter where you go. When somebody asks you, "How are you?" of course you have to answer, "I'm fine." And if you say anything else, people will just stare at you weird. In my homeland, if somebody asks you, "How are you?" well, guess what? They really want to know how you are. And if you're not feeling well, if you're feeling angry, then rant. They want to hear all about it. And and if you want to visit your friend, well, you can do it anytime you want. You don't have to call first. Guess what else? If they're home, they will welcome you not only with open arms, but they will also make sure that you're rested and fed before you're sent on your way. How cool is that? Another thing that I simply love about my people is how family-oriented they are. And by family, I don't just mean immediate family, like parents and siblings. I also mean distant relatives, friends, close acquaintances. So yeah, it's exactly like in Lebanon. There's this family doctor who used to take care of me when I was a child. Like if I had a fever or a cold, just anything basically. For the longest time, I honestly thought he was related to me by blood, because every time there was a family celebration, he would be there. Guess what? Recently, I just found out that he's not related to me at all. He's just a family friend, that's all. Slightly related to that is the way we treat older people. Maybe most of you won't agree with me, but from what I've seen, people here seem to think that older people are a burden. They're just not appreciated enough. In Indonesia, older people are a source of wisdom. We don't have nursing homes because it's a given that when you grow old, your children and even your grandchildren will take care of you. I still remember my great-grandmom. She used to live with my mom's family. By the time I was 3, she was already a bit senile. She died by the time I was 5. But until today, I can still remember how loving she was to us. I can still remember how withered her hand felt. That's how close we were. Here, I think, everyone is really alone. Everyone is just so busy being individualistic, so busy guarding their privacy, that everyone forgets how to appreciate other people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that everything in America is bad. There are good things here too, things that I like. For example, the freedom of speech. Now, I still don't think that it's complete freedom. But here, at least, I can talk about politics all I want. Disagree with the government openly. And I don't even have to be afraid that one day it will come and bite me in the ass. And if I want to talk about taboo subjects like sex or homosexuality, well, I can talk about it openly. And I don't have to be afraid that people will stare at me like I'm some sort of evil incarnate. People here are more open-minded about certain things. I also like the fact that the quality of life is higher here, if you can pay for it. For example, phones and internet. Here, everybody takes them for granted. They're just facts of life. In Indonesia, they're luxury items. Here, if I want to, I can stay on the net 24/7, all the way yapping on the phone, and I don't even have to worry about my bill at the end of the month. In Indonesia, every minute counts, literally. What's more, I would be lucky if I could stay connected on the internet for 1 hour without getting disconnected at least 3 times. So yeah, I can still go on and on, but I really think that my time is up now. So I'll just stop here with a little disclaimer. I'm not trying to tell you which country is better, Indonesia or America. There are good things in both, just like there are some not so good things in both. So what's the point in all this talk? Well, it's simply this. Kita semua bisa belajar dari satu sama lain. Or, as you Americans would say, all of us, can learn from each other. Thank you for listening. Please give a warm welcome to the next speaker and also my colleague, Seth.
Thank you, Tara. That was great. They put a lot of pressure on me with these great talks. It's hard being a cleanup guy today. All right. Well, good evening and welcome. Or as Croatians would say, dobro večer I dobrodošli. Welcome to today's presentation of Croatia. My name is Željko Matajic, and I'm a multimedia major senior student here at UNCA. This is my 5th year in the United States, 4th at UNCA. I come from Zagreb, which is the capital of Croatia with a population of about 1.2 million people, which is a little bigger than Charlotte. First of all, I would like to state that the following presentation is based on my own experiences and may vary from other Croats you might talk to. The topics that we will cover here today include the economic and social mobility, education, religion, nature, and tourism, as well as sports. Well, let's start off some basic information and geographical position of Croatia. As you can see, Croatia is an Adriatic and a Central European country. It's roughly about the size of Florida. Geographically, it is situated on the crossroads between Central Europe and the Mediterranean. As you may notice, Croatia is a very small country, even for European standards. But as most of you know, it wasn't always like this. For most of the 20th century, Croatia was a part of Yugoslavia, a partly communist country. In 1991, Croatia declared its independence from Yugoslavia, which triggers a rebellion by Serbia, who occupies about 1/4 of Croatian territory, which is mostly on the borders. In other words, the war with Serbia was over land rights and was not an ethnic battle, as many will believe. It took 4 years of often bitter fighting before Serbian armies were mostly cleared from Croatian lands. So, as you can see, Rabia and I share very similar experiences and backgrounds, as we both come from young and now independent countries. This independence does carry a cost, as you will see when we mention our topic about economy. But first, we gotta ask ourselves this question. How does this small country stand and function in comparison to European giants like France and Germany, or even in comparison to the United States? I will try to explain by, for starters, presenting a picture of social and economic mobility of my country in 21st century. I wanted to tell you this part about Croatian history as it is important in understanding the present situation in economic and social mobility. The government spent a lot of money to cover the cost of war and defend Croatia from an invasion. Therefore, today, exactly 10 years after war ended, we can still see a struggle in economy itself. Economy started to recover after the war. The opportunities for young people are moderate, although the job market is reaching the highest capacity. Still, things are starting to look better. There has been a change of government. Unemployment rate is slowly dropping, but it's going to take a couple of more years when I could say that the opportunities for a comfortable life in Croatia are great. But if you want to get a well-paid job, you have to get a good educational background, or like in Indonesia, just have good connections. So what kind of education am I talking about here? Well, in Croatia, education is considered to be very important. After going through middle school, you're supposed to make a choice for your field of study and therefore choose the right school for you. So here you're already making your first choices. For example, if you're thinking about being an engineer or work with computers, your choice would be a technical school. Basically, at this point in your life, you're deciding a route that you're going to take for the rest of your life. Of course, there's an option for those who still don't know where they want to go. So you can go to a gymnasium, which will cover all fields of study, and it's a lot harder school. I can say that from 4 years of experience, because that was my high school choice. I have to say that schools in Croatia are a lot harder than in the United States. In gymnasium, I had 16 full-time classes per year, and they included all fields of study, from music, physics, chemistry, geography, foreign languages to health and fitness. To make this picture clearer to you, I will only mention that I had to take math up to 3 years of calculus in high school. You really don't have a choice there. Yes, that was one of the last classes I took before I came here. I can't say that I wasn't satisfied. I was happy because I was getting a really good education that proved to be helpful in my future. The only choices I had while I was in gymnasium were to choose between languages. You have to have English and Latin, and the choice is yours if you want German or Italian. That's another difference in education between our two countries. In the United States, you're encouraged to make choices throughout the high school and therefore find out what you really like and then concentrate in that field of study for the rest of your career. Among Croatian academic institutes, I would like to mention universities that take most important places. These starting points for each young intellectuals are located in 4 biggest Croatian cities: Osijek, Rijeka, Split, and Zagreb. University of Zagreb is the oldest and the biggest Croatian university. They are very competitive to get accepted to, and that's just the start. They usually last 4 to 6 years, and there is no undergraduate school. You're in graduate school from day one. Republic of Croatia is a land with cultural heritage. Libraries in almost all cities of Croatia are important to keep for next generation. Central Place, which collects all materials published in Croatia, is a national university library in Zagreb. One of the most famous monuments in Zagreb is this cathedral, built in 13th century, and it's also the highest building in the city. I would also like to mention St. Mark's Church, which is situated in the upper old part of the city. So churches and cathedrals will lead us into our next topic, religion. When Croatia was a part of Yugoslavia, and thus mostly a communist country, Catholicism was forbidden. And if you would practice it publicly, you could go to prison. Croats are overwhelmingly Roman Catholic, 85%. When I say that Croatians are Catholic, it really does apply in true sense of the word. Catholic teachings and laws are taken seriously. That means that abortion is considered to be illegal, divorce rate is very small, and official standpoints of Catholic Church are followed completely. On Sundays, businesses are closed and people regularly attend Sunday Mass. So you can see that unlike our European neighbor France, Croats are very much into religion and it's a part of our daily lives. This way of practicing religion was mostly influenced by our neighbor Italy and Vatican throughout the history. Many small churches date back into 11th, 12th, or 13th century and can be found all over Croatia. They are a big part of our history. After discussing the importance of religion, let us talk about what Croats do in their free time. Well, sports is very big in Croatia. How big, it's hard to express in words, but I'll try. First time I met Professor Sulak here, he asked me, is basketball big in your country? Because you seem to populate most of the NBA today. You see, this is the recognition in sporting world that we get all around the world. It really is quite amazing that a country that's smaller in population than North Carolina would have world-famous athletes in almost every sport. Participation of the Croatian athletes and teams on the Olympic, World and European Championships, World and European Cups, Mediterranean Games, as well as other international and regional meetings, have all contributed to the affirmation and reputation of Croatian sport, as well as the reputation of Republic of Croatia in the international sport world. During the World Cup in 1998 and 2002, 80% of citizens of Croatia spent watching their country's first appearance in the world's biggest sporting event. The only event that I can compare that to the US would probably be Super Bowl, but then again, you have to ask yourself, do 80% of Americans watch Super Bowl? I still remember my cousin, who I was watching a World Cup match with, closing himself in a room for 2 days because we lost. He was so depressed, and I think it's a little too much even for Croatian standards, but what can I say? That is how it is back home. We are a small country, and every loss or win we take with pure joy and sadness. They had cameras in the main streets of the biggest cities during the game, and guess what they showed? There was nobody outside. Everybody was inside watching the game. It doesn't matter, is it women or children, young or old, in Croatia that is how we see sports, as a part of our daily life. After winning the third place in World Cup '98 in France, Croatian players were granted a free vacation on the coast that was paid by the government. Do you want to know where they went? Well, we'll talk a little bit about Croatia's geography and nature. Although it's situated in the heart of Europe and close to Central European capitals, Croatia has maintained a well-preserved natural environment. Croatia, in the opinion of many, is Europe's most beautiful garden, has been an attractive naturist destination for 5 decades, and as of lately, most desirable location for vacation in Europe. Nature and environment are quite important to Croatian people. So what is it so attractive in Croatia that you can't find anywhere else? Well, geographical changes from north to south are quite a trip, from mountains to the coast to rich fields of Slavonia. Adriatic Sea and the most intended coast in Europe is probably one of the major reasons why people continue to come and visit Croatia. The rich culture that makes us unique, food, festivals, music, sights, sounds, and taste of Mediterranean will definitely leave an impact on you. Croatian people preserved the natural beauty of the country throughout the history. The results are seen today as Croatia has 7 national parks, which is quite amazing, again, if you take the size of the country. The spirit and culture of the Croatian people is evident not only in their everyday life, but also in the streets, in museum collections, exhibitions, concerts of classical music and theater. In the same measure, they can be found in the folk costumes that come to life during festivals or in town museums where life has been going on the same stone-paved streets, same churches, and same squares for hundreds of years. I would like to bring this talk to an end by telling you what I like about Croatia and the United States. For the United States, there's really a lot I cherish here and I didn't experience in my home country. Very accessible and interesting educational system is definitely a great deal for me. As I mentioned before, in Croatia you don't have many choices. Here you can change your major as many times as you want, and you can also take classes for fun like guitar, weightlifting. There's no way I would ever get a credit in Croatia for a class like that. Also, as I mentioned, I'm a multimedia major here, and that major is not offered yet in Croatia. They're kind of starting it up, but not really. The diversity in study is definitely top-notch around here. The opportunity that this country offers are great. Friendliness of people is great in both countries. I can assure you that people in Croatia will be very friendly to you. If you get lost, you should never hesitate to ask somebody for help. They will be glad to. One thing I miss about Croatia are my family and friends. You can't replace that anywhere else. Family plays a very important role in Croatia. The other thing I miss is food. But that's what we all miss. I'm sorry, I'm just not used to American fast food and pizza. And the reason would be that I'm probably raised on home-cooked meals and from scratch, which probably spoiled me too much. Public transportation is one big difference between US and Croatia. In US, it's hard to move around without a car. In Croatia, I could get into any part of my city or country by using one of the numerous ways of public transportation. I have to say that I enjoy both living in Croatia and in the United States, and it's a great cultural event to experience both of them. I encourage you to do the same in the near future. It was truly a pleasure to stand up in front of you today and talk about my country. If you happen to be in Europe in the near future, I hope you will experience the sight and sounds of Croatia. You are all welcome, and I invite you. Guaranteed that you won't forget it for the rest of your life and that you'll be glad you visited this small European country. Before I finish, I would like to thank you all once again for coming to the 8th Annual International Forum. I hope you have all enjoyed our presentations from Rabia, Genevieve, and Tara, and myself, and that you will leave here with a better understanding of our cultural backgrounds. I'll leave you with the following phrase in Croatian: proširite svoje horizonte, which means expand your horizons and incorporate this vast knowledge into your own lifestyle. Thank you.